Peace, y'all. Chapter 23 of the ISIS thesis. Let me get straight into these pages. From here to eternity through Egyptian science. Who we are, from fermion to boson with a halo. Egyptian science not only offers the deceased knowledge of the guided diffusion path to eternity, but it also gives living human beings knowledge of who we are, if there is there life after death, and how does our universe function. The Egyptian ideas support the string concept of T-duality, an idea claiming that a dual universe exists at a Planck length scales similar to our large universe. What is above is like below. The operations of the solar wind and the earth mirror chemical activities in the quantum world. The earth's flowing magnetosphere mirrors the activities of a living one-cell organism. Magnetic reconnection in the magnetosphere is similar to DNA recombination in the cell. Anti-parallel north and south IMF bidirectional jets of plasma mirror anti-parallel directions of DNA. The staircase cusp signature of magnetic reconnection is similar to the bursty merging caused by phage absorption and DNA injection at the Lamporn. The interchange or kink instability of magnetic reconnection is similar to the thymine-dimer kink in the DNA double helix. Solar FTEs moving into a polar site of magnetic reconnection mirror the activity of phage lambda injecting its DNA into the polar Lamporn of a host cell. A magnetospheric substorm that pinches off a plasmoid is similar to the cellular binary fission that pinches off a new bacterial chromosome. Ions frozen on the Earth's magnetic field lines are similar to the nucleotides frozen on a DNA molecule. Iron core of Earth's magnetosphere is similar to the iron embedded in the center of the DNA double helix at certain loci. The dynamics of magnetic flux ropes are similar to the activity of iron containing cytophores in a cell. The HLBL and the LLBL of the magnetosphere map respectively to the non-MBP binding lactose transport and MBP binding channels in the maltose transport system of E. coli. As a mirror model of the one-cell organism, the Dewey also has the properties of a curved black hole. The Earth's magnetosphere is actually a spinning vortex with mountainous barriers of plasma. At the quantum level, the mountains and valleys are energy landscapes depicting protein folding, ideally that of crow protein folding to its native conformation. This folding energy landscape is similar to a funnel, a vortex, a curved black hole with a ring singularity near which the deceased exits, traveling on a Einstein-Rosen bridge to the early universe. Because the sun god is an exotic species with negative energy, the bridge stays open. Also, the deceased's parity changes results in a left-handed biological molecule, allowing him to orbit in the same direction as the black hole's spinning axis. Thus, the deceased moves with the current, going faster than light. This advantage of left-handed helicity allows the deceased to enter into the forbidden past early universe. Related to this idea, B.G. Sithoff in 1998 describes the electrons, the muons, the tau particles, neutrinos, and approximately the quarks of Kerr-Newman black holes. His Compton radius vortex model identifies the electron as a relativistic vortex rotating at the speed of light. In quantum mechanics, one can only calculate the probability of where particles will be found. The Compton wavelength is this spread in location. Sithoff states that near the Compton wavelength scales, electrons display a neutrino-type bosonization or low dimensionality. At the Compton wavelength, neutrinos and relativistic quarks are left-handed, while corresponding antiparticles are right-handed. All of this supports the interpretation of the deceased as a left-handed particle that exhibits bosonization. Further, Sithoff states in 1998 again, fermions are primary and bosons can be treated as bound states of fermions. In this sense, quarks can be treated as quantum mechanical black holes, and pions and other hadrons can be treated as bound states of quark and antiquark. He states a pion can be considered an electron positron composite because its Compton wavelength equals the classical electron radius, which resembles the fact that the pion is a quark/antiquark composite. These could be incorporated into the above QMBH consideration to get a mass spectrum. Once again, this relates to the decay of the deceased and his double to a pion. Sithoff further states that just beyond the Compton wavelength, the particle corresponds to an electron at scales less than or equal to the Compton. wavelength. The particle corresponds to a quark at scales greater than or equal to the Compton wavelength. It corresponds to a pion. At and within the Compton wavelength, negative energy dominates. This electron quark pion potential supports the description in this work of the deceased's transformation. Our genetic essence. It is also obvious that Egyptian science, that after death, human consciousness resides in our immortal part, our genetic essence, whatever that is. Like the Tibetan Book of the Dead, the text advised the deceased to merge with the sun god in the afterlife. This evolutionary merge into a molecular assembly that operates like phage lambda results in the recombinant species Homo sapien lambda. The evidence suggests that the Egyptian tree of life is the lambda genome. Homo sapiens sapiens result from the production of CI protein, whereas Homo sapien lambda results from the Crow protein production. Thus, Egyptian science proposes that lambda structure is imprinted on our universe. Mathematical proof for this claim may be Week's finding the universe is shaped like a dodecahedron based on pi. The creation of Homo sapien lambda happens within the natural time machine of the Earth's magnetosphere, acting as a rotating quantum mechanical black hole gateway to a cosmic subway back to the early universe. The deceased passes through 4 event horizons in this process. By escaping from the Earth cell, the recombinant species survives as a bioluminescent rather than the photosynthetic life form. In essence, Egyptian genetics advocates the reinvention of humans at the species level to enhance the world rather than degrade it. The recombinant species results from a fermion to boson transformation in a quantum mechanical black hole, an event that supports string theory concepts such as supersymmetry and T-duality, while showing that gravity can act at the quantum level. Therefore, Egyptian science claims the pharaohs possess an understanding of the unified 4 forces. Earlier, we referenced Najib Pong Chang's research that the pion remains a Nabu-Goldstone boson and acquires a halo while propagating through the early universe. As mentioned, the halo is a threshold phenomenon due to quantum mechanical tunneling, an activity of the deceased that is evident in the text. In heavy nuclei and neutron excess, a halo forms due to the balance between repulsive pion nucleus and attractive Coulomb force. Modern researchers consider the quantum halo a new form of matter that displays essential quantum features common to all microscopic matter. Halos also aid understanding of element production in stars and supernovae. For example, isotopes are formed through the process of neutrons attracting protons in each other. The amount of neutrons determine the various isotopes which come from the Big Bang, our sun, and exploding supernovae. When a star ends its life as a supernova, it uses up all its hydrogen, converts elements up to iron, then explodes, thrusting debris into space and leaving a neutron star. During the explosion, the collapse of the core creates a shock wave that accelerates neutrons that are created. These neutrons combine with nuclei of lighter elements to produce elements heavier than iron. The neutron-rich elements are returned explosively to the interstellar space where they form new stars. Some of these nuclei form a halo outside the core. Other kinds of halos are formed by Borromean systems, two neutrons bound to a core with fields that partly overlap. The tendency to tunnel past the classical limit makes halos bigger than in the quantum world. So, what does this have to do with the self-assembled molecular structure the deceased becomes? First, the presence of hydrogen, helium, oxygen, nitrogen, iron, and other elements at the enriched polar cusp may be evidence of the cosmic ray acceleration of neutron-rich isotopes. Second, references to Ra's sun disk intro him to Ra BD Plate 1. Ra, who is in his sun, at Coffin Text 105, and the deceased needing strong sunlight at Pyramid Text 523. The soul one who glow in the sun, and the deceased not being restrained or repulsed, but his flesh renewed by Ra's beauty suggests a self-assembled neutron-rich halo carrier molecule that ferries the deceased through the Duat's double ram gate. Additional reference to Ra, such as what the sun disk encircles is bright because of you, and you are the golden image that bears the likeness of the sun disk, point to the idea of a halo. Not only does the sun god tunnel through two barriers into the duat, but the supermolecule burrows out of the earth cell by means of a transmembrane tunnel. It seems that the dynamics of halo formation apply to the deceased sun god. Third, the Orion region is a dense area of about 2,000 very strong young stars with elevated X-ray emissions that scientists believe arise from the star's strong magnetic field. And this is from NASA in 2000. In the Tibetan recension, the deceased claims that he knows the death and the composition of the blessed dead. He states that which is upon the shoulders of Orion is examined, being 1/12 strewing out of what is united, as what one gives to another among them. Examining this statement, we discover that Betelgeuse, a red supergiant on the shoulders of Orion, long ago burned the hydrogen deep within its core. It is an ancient star approaching the end of its life cycle. Recently, the Harvard-Smithsonian Center of Astrophysics in 2000 reported the first direct evidence in Betelgeuse pulsing chromosphere of stream of gas in opposite directions with velocities of 10,000 miles per hour. Like a human heart, Betelgeuse pulses, expelling gas from its surface out into space in one direction, while gas falls to the star in the other. Could this blown off gas account for the Egyptian claim of 1/12 strewing out of Betelgeuse's or Orion's shoulder? Is this 1/12 the acceleration of neutron-rich elements from Betelgeuse and Orion's giant element-rich molecular cloud? Possibly Orion is the source of cosmic ray elements at Earth's cusp. Put simply, the deceased merging with the self-assembled molecular sun god at the cusp may be just the energetic bond the deceased needs to transform from a fermion to a boson with a halo. On Earth as it is in heaven. Evidence such as the architecture of the pyramids Antiochus Nilometer, the language of the text, the large head and tubular stalk of the mummified form, and Egyptian drawings showing deities wearing ceremonial tails and having spherical heads point to phage lambda morphology. Also, other indications such as Egyptian directions for specific coding sequences, Herodotus' writings on the birth of the Apis bull, and the distinctive Apis marking suggests the pharaohs understood gene cloning. Further, the funerary texts as a whole provide evidence that the pharaohs understood the lithic and lysogeny lifestyles of phage lambda along with the dynamics of horizontal gene transfer. Two ways. Within the Egyptian scheme, the alternative to merging with the sun god and becoming dark energy through a white hole past singularity is a recycling of human elements back into the Earth system through a black hole future singularity. But this alternative can be avoided. The Cairo Coffin 28083 plan of the Book of Two Ways features a blue upper hand or path that the deceased should follow rather than a thinner black band below. Within an E. coli cell, researchers have defined two figurative pathways from the transport of substrate at the lampoin receptor site. In one path, the substrate is bound to MBP protein, but in the case of lactose transport, the second path is assessed because MBP cannot bind the substrate lactose. Thus, the text advises the deceased to take the plan's upper blue path, which is the lactose pathway. On the macroscopic level, the HLBL mirrors the plan's blue upper band, while the LLBL mirrors the plan's lower black path. The one the deceased should not take because the substrate is bound to MBP. Clearly, Isis is central to the transfiguration of the deceased, for she represents lactose energy for the recombinant species. Texts such as the Amduat and the Book of Gates have an in-depth biochemical and bacterial genetic knowledge related to the lytic lifestyle of phage lambda. Hour 12 of the Amduat shows the supermolecular sun god's exit from the Earth's cell duat by means of elongated serpent or transmembrane tunnel. The Book of Gates also mentions a passage through the serpent Capri. This tunnel exit points to the passage through existing holes at cell poles discovered by modern researchers where lambda progeny escape from the cell without lysing it. It also suggests movement through a quantum mechanical Einstein-Rosen bridge. In addition, the New Kingdom Book of the Dead and Tibetan Recension offers more support for the lambda-lytic lifestyle that results in Homo sapiens lambda. However, these funerary texts support other modern scientific concepts such as CPT violation in weak interactions, fermion to boson transformation, the Higgs field, quantum teleportation, and a movement back to the early universe. It is evident that the funerary text corpus is unified in its presentation of the Egyptian science, which is embedded in over 870 metaphysical symbols, metasymbols, a city of signs paralleling the achievements of 21st century space physics, bacterial genetics, biology, quantum physics, and new chemistry. The evolutionary merge of the deceased with the lambda sun god may result in an evolutionary shunt out of the Earth system into an early universe. Instead of the Earth and its inhabitants being our community, the pharaohs have mapped a path to the starry heavens that inflates the entire universe as our matrix of existence. from the twin seed of the lambda genetic heritage, one's life through death can expand from human self-concern to a cosmic conscious embracing the entire universe. With the knowledge of Egyptian science, humanity can reinvent itself as a species, overcoming our present limitations as a overpopulation, nuclear war, poverty, global warming, and the ongoing mass extinction of species necessary for human survival. As promised, the Egyptian funerary texts offer humans knowledge for an evolutionary adventure that could allow one's deepened consciousness to exist in the Milky Way galaxy when the sun becomes a red giant and destroys the earth 5 billion years from now. Peace and thank you guys. When we meet again, we'll be back with chapter 24, the marriage of religion and science. Y'all take it easy. Oh, I got my feet in the picture. Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord, Dawn.
Your feet was in the picture?
They was in the picture.